question though is when you put in,
Sorry, you're increasing density, and therefore
you're going back to the density that you were at your most efficient. He was like, you know, you're gonna break an engine to know where the threshold is, and it is true. You don't want to, but it is.
Alright, so you're telling me that you don't know when you get that started out. So when you get the car started out, for the wiring?
For the wiring?
Yeah.
Nah.
We got bucket and rest a couple days.
Yeah, once you get into rally time, drag time, it'd be fairly hectic. As you can see, they got cars on the dynos, they got cars every day this week on the dyno. So it's get hectic.
What's your stake in all the cars in this case?
I don't deal with all of them. Actually, I don't do a lot of rally cars.
Okay.
I don't deal 3 rally cars. Most of the cars I deal with are drag cars.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that preference or just that's how it comes?
Just how it started out. Because I started out honestly tuning on the bikes and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah. And then progress to cars, having my own car.
Yeah.
And going from that, and then one person wanted something done, so I started that, and the progression just started to where it is now.
How different is to tune a bike versus a car? Like, what you gotta do differently?
There's not much difference, you know. The thing with a bike is that a bike already comes fairly set up in I want to say optimal performance.
Okay.
Until you get to like the newer bikes now, where the manufacturers do a lot of, I want to say like throttle deceleration stuff to make the bikes controllable with the horsepower that they have.
Yeah.
So like now, when you do a flash on a bike now, it's more like taking off all the limiters that the manufacturers put on than trying to make more power from the engine, because the engine basically at its optimal already, unless you do some sort of aftermarket stuff on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I guess I could imagine that a little bit, because when I hear bikes, it always sound like a race car levels.
Yeah, correct.
So whenever I hear the engine, I know that's a bike because of how refined it sounds.
So, correct. So a bike, the smallest cc bike, revving to more RPM than probably the most modified, some of the most modified cars, like 1100 RPM is low on a bike.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, it's a totally like, it kind of is, like when you study it, it's kind of amazing what a bike engine does for something that's such a small cc, and the amount of horsepower that small cc's, well, I don't want to say small cc's, because you got 1000 cc, 13 cc, 15. So, but to rev to that amount and be reliable all day, every day is amazing on a bike, to be honest.
Okay. And so why you started on a bike? Like, what was that trigger?
Because I used to ride, and one of the guys, like I used to deal with a lot of the bikes that used to race at Bushy Park.
Yeah.
So one of the guys, he brought in aftermarket ECU. I said, man, you want to try out this? So I said, yeah. And that's how the bike started, just dealing with the bikes at Bushy Park.
Yeah.
I was doing probably, I want to say 90% of the bikes I was racing Bushy Park, I was tuning at that time. Where Bushy Park bikes, like all the bikes that went to Guyana to race, some of the bikes that came in when they were here, I did some of those when they used to have the big international meets and stuff.
Yeah.
So, like I said, then I just progressed to the cars because I was in that bike world at that time. So obviously, most of the stuff would have been bikes, and then slowly went to cars.
Okay. And all right. When you tune in the car, what was the thought process you think through when you're in a vehicle and you say, yeah, I got to tune this car? Let's say maybe from scratch, or just
all right, let me start from scratch.
Okay.
if it is, let me say, a new build, new ECU format, you're basically kind of trying to take it slow, especially with a new build,
Yeah.
because there's so much that can go wrong in terms of the mechanical side of it. So you gotta
Right.
be kind of wary of that, and you kind of try to slowly deal with it. So my process most of the time, and I guess most tuners will, you try to get the fuel in correct before you start to deal with the ignition. You have your ignition fairly low,
Right.
right? You try to get all your fuel in, kind of mapped out, know where you're going. Again, with experience, you kind of know from after a couple pulls where your fuel curve should look like and stuff like that.
Okay.
So once you get that in, you kind of tidy that up, then you start trying to feed in some ignition on it to now try to make the power
Okay.
on it, right?
Yeah.
Then if you're going, I don't want to say the process is different from an NA car to a turbocharged car, but obviously the turbocharged cars have a lot more happening, a lot more controls you're going to be using for it. So it takes a little longer, and depending on power levels that you're going to being a street car at 15, 20 pounds, whatever, to something that might be 30, 40,
Right.
you know. Obviously, when you start to get to those thresholds or those higher numbers, you kind of, I won't say you move slower, but you kind of feed that in a little bit
Okay.
less.
I get you.
You know,
Yeah.
so because now a small change could,
Have a big result.
yeah,
Okay.
in a good way or a very bad way.
Yeah,
you
because
know?
how many things combine together.
Yeah.
You
So
get-
yeah, that there's a lot more like there's a lot more to do on a turbocharged car, or I would say even a high compression aspirated car, NA car.
Right.
It is you gotta know. I won't say you gotta know what you're doing, but you gotta know what you're doing.
Okay.
You know, yeah.
You
And
ha-
that comes, honestly, that comes with experience. I tell people what things that I would do now, 10 years ago, maybe I would not even think about even doing that
Right.
in a car. But I could go on the dyno, I could do a couple pulls on a car, and I could say, oh, all right, this feel like this revving out hard enough. I don't feel anything going on with the engine. I know the engine sound based on the build, whatever, and I know I could do another 3 degrees in here already.
Right.
And I know we're gonna be good.
Yeah.
you
Okay.
know? So
So, any times, okay, give me an example if you could think of where you had a eureka moment where you fully understood a concept that had been beating you for a while.
wow. There are a lot. Like a good example, a lot of things I have learned in tuning is on Sammy's car, both when he had the E30
Right.
and with now the Clifford as is known.
Yeah.
Right? Because we started out that project, but when it came onto that project, it was to search for 550.
Right.
I think that was the goal, and we kind of got to that with a lot of experiments. I guarantee if you look on that dyno computer, Sammy probably has the most pulls on that dyno, trying to get
That-
stuff right. So
yeah.
like with that car, things that you would not necessarily do, or I would say is not out of the box, but you kind of, we started to push the envelope on it
Right.
in our minds, because when we started, people were saying, oh, you can get 600, you can do this, and then we made 600, we made 650, we made 7,
Right.
we made 7 something, and
Yeah.
it was like, oh, it doing it, but no, there were limits to it. So like you said, the eureka moment with that is like we realized, oh well, we could do this amount of timing on this, or we could do this amount of boost on this, and this car making this power. Well, compared to some cars I was doing before, I couldn't get it, right?
Yeah.
Done in that combination. And then coming from that, going back to some of those cars, then when I tried the same sequence or how to feed the power in, I
Yeah.
realized, oh, well, this could actually work, you know.
Yeah.
And you got the car at a much safer level, because with that car, because we were treading lightly, I told people there are times I pull in that car that I just squeeze in like that because I expected it to blow on it.
Yeah.
You know, like, so. But that car has taught me a lot in my tuning process, in terms of extracting power, and also in terms of how to apply power to get it to the ground.
So I guess it could be, I can relate slightly, or something I thought about before, where if you apply timing in areas where you wouldn't think, okay, what's your point of putting timing in this section?
Mm-hmm.
But you can build the momentum wave
Mm-hmm.
that when you actually need it, the momentums are being built.
Yeah, and yes, that can happen. It really is dependent on, I would say, engine characteristics a lot, because obviously every engine isn't the same based on the stroke, the size of the piston, the volume. Things happen a little differently, so you gotta kind of, it is not a one process works for all, but you gotta be able to maneuver in the spaces to figure out what you can do. And like I said, I remember when I first started tuning, a friend of mine that kind of got me into it in Boston, I was talking to him about something, and he was like, you know, you gotta break an engine to know where the track roll is. And it is true. You don't want to, but it is true. When you start searching for power, like I tell people, there's everybody's not built to have a race car to search for power, you know. You can have reliable power, or you can have cars that are on the edge, you know. And it is just trying to figure out the concepts. Like I tell people, there are cars that I got that we know be sharpened on both sides. And there are some cars that are out there that I know if we wanted to, we could probably get more. But we're just not pushing the envelope for whatever reason, you know. It is, with race cars, it's a lot about budget, where your budget is. A street car, like I tell people, I don't go aggressive on street cars. Unless somebody wants it to be, I try to dial it back, because a street car guy can kind of beat on a car more than a race car. A race car is a dry car is gonna take a beating for
a short space
of time, for a couple of hours.
And the chances are they're also more better maintained.
Yes. So there's a lot, like I tell you, there's a lot that goes in to tuning. It's not, tell people it's not about the horsepower. Everybody can make horsepower. We can get the smallest engine and we can make 500 outrights. How long it can last at 500, you know? So it's knowing the boundaries. And like I said, the only way to really know the boundaries is if you unfortunately break something. I mean, I can't say I've broken a lot in my time, but of the ones that have broken, we have been searching for power. So between me and the owner, we know where we were going.
So it's not necessarily an accidental.
We knew, all right, we're trying to see where this is, and this could happen or whatever. And it happens, you know, it happens.
Okay. So back to Clifford, what was the strategy that you learned from that?
The strategy? Clifford taught me, I won't say the art of finding traction.
Okay.
Because that car has no traction aids. It does not carry launch control, it does not carry traction, it does not have any of that. So people could tell you that car has gone on the dyno for us to turn it down, so that we can get it where it will put down the power. So we have, I don't even know, I feel we have about 20 different maps of different horsepower to different torque levels. So based on what the track gives us, we know, we could do 500. Like I tell people, the only time Clifford has ever done close to a 700 pass in Barbados was on the belt.
You say it was
On the belt.
Oh, on the
when
belt.
we did the belt.
Oh.
Every time after that, all the bushy part is like 5 something.
Right.
Because the car just
Can't hook.
yeah, it does not hook. It does not hook. And when we try, he will spin all 4 or 5 going up the line. He will spin it. Plus with the sequential box, the car always like it is always on the torque band.
Yeah.
So if you don't get it to hook, you're not getting it to hook
afterwards.
Yeah.
No matter how much you short check, unless
Yeah,
you
correct.
do
You gotta come right out and go
and then
again,
you-
and then you gotta baby it all the way.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't think anybody else could drive that car other than Sam. To be honest, me, yeah. Cause
the boss on it.
yeah. He knows it. Like I tell people, we went to Grenada with that car. That car was not logging.
Right.
So Sammy was my logger.
Right.
So when he did a run, he come by and said, all right, tell me what
Okay,
happened.
no.
Tell me what this is. All right, when you feel this, we do this. And we start building maps for Grenada. That
Right.
way, like just off of
Off the-
him telling me, because I know what he feeling is exactly what's going on with the car.
Yeah, I got that. And that kind of ties back into racing where in some era you don't got telemetry.
Correct.
So you have to
got
rely on your driver to
tell you
as
what
much.
it is.
So-
So yeah. So like that car, like I said, that car teach me a lot of how to manipulate a ECU
Yeah.
to get to do what you want it to do. Where another ECU, like I said, all right, I want you to this wheel spinning at that spinning at that. This is
Come
what I
on,
want
man.
you to do.
Yeah.
Me, I gotta do that physically. I gotta put that in. Oh, we spinning at this, or we need to take out some torque here. We need to put something in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you really juggling the brain on, because you can't just go and put in the computer the back door torque at this RPM.
Yeah.
Or you got actually know in your head how to what is
Correct.
just torque.
Yes, correct. And what the change? Because I tell people it is actually me and Greg was having that conversation yesterday that people talk about moving the torque band and all of that. Yes, you can do that.
Yeah.
But there are drawbacks to that in
Yeah,
tuning as well. You moving the torque band does not necessarily mean it makes it better.
Right.
You know, right? Because don't let me say that. It can make it better depending on the application you're trying to work the car in, right?
Everything
So-
is a feedback.
Yeah, correct.
Right.
So you gotta know like what you're doing. Like certain cars I know that I've tuned dry cars, I know it would never be a good circuit car with the tune that's on it.
Okay.
Because of where the power lives.
It's
Because
all at
there's
top, right?
yeah.
Okay.
Right? So you gotta know where you want to be.
Yeah.
Like you can't have a multi-purpose car. It can be a multi-purpose, but it can't be competitive. That's how I look at it. Yeah. You know?
Yeah, jack of all trades, but massive none.
Not
Yeah.
correct.
Okay. You have a preference of engine platform?
I would say Hondas because I know them.
Okay.
Because obviously I come up on a Honda, so I know the engines, stuff like that. But honestly, the engines that impress me are the BMWs. The BMWs, I am impressed with all the BMWs that I work on.
Right.
How the engine works, like when you do stuff, how you see that change. I mean, you see it like on the Hondas, the Evos, the Mitsubishis, to a certain extent a Subaru. But to me, having a lot of experience on the Honda side and now with the BMWs, be on both NAS side and turbo side,
Right.
to me those engines are like, I won't say superior, but you see the difference based on your inputs.
Yeah.
Well, I guess you can see it with a Honda too, but because a Honda is so, I won't say like cookie cutter, no. You know what you gotta do already
Yeah.
to make the power. It's nothing
Ain't
no
nothing too
rocket
new.
science.
Yeah.
Yeah, to it, you know. So you know We're gonna make the power, you know, based on what you got and what you're doing, where your power goals should be.
Yeah.
Like I tell people come to me and say, so how much you expect to make on your day? I say, I don't got no expectations, you know. We can go, I can do it, based on what the engine giving me when they put in certain things, and they have an expectation of what it should do. Like if I start to lean out the fuel, or I put in some ignition, what I expect I should see based on the ignition. If I'm not seeing that, then I know, well, we need to check and see what's going on, or if we seeing where we're going, we could go further. So I tell people I don't really have, like, I don't expect 300, I don't expect 700, I don't have that. I know we should be, based on the bill, we should be 300 or we should be something, but there's so much more that when we could get 3 cars that have the same exact setup, and all 3 are going to give us different numbers.
All right.
Yeah.
And I guess to wrap up with the question I have, if you had to give advice to either your younger self or someone no starting out, what it would be?
In the tuning world?
Yeah.
I would say the first thing to do is get as much of the education, be it online courses or whatever. You have, in my mind, to be a good tuner, you have to understand an engine. You have to have some knowledge of how an engine works.
Right. That's a start.
Yeah. But have some good education, because to me, I've done a lot of courses, and that's where I think I get comfortable now to do certain things, because I know now the approach.
Okay.
You understand?
Yeah.
I know the approach. So as somebody that now getting into it, get the education, get an old car, and do a lot of practicing. Do a lot of playing. Like I told people when I first got into tuning, every day I used to live in St. Philip, used to work in Houlton. From St. Philip to Houlton, the laptop was on. From laptop, just log in. At lunchtime I come out and they trying to get it a little better, see how that work, going home. Get home, sit down in the driveway, play with it, and I can see how that work. Going out the next morning. And also tuning is honestly, it is experience. You can't beat that for sure. The man with the most experience is technically going to be the better tuner, because he has the experience.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
So this is something I've been thinking about the entire day. This is, I just want to pick your brain with this one, right? So, my tuner told me about this on his stock car. He's able to do 29 pounds of boost on his pump gas stock car, and it peaks at 29 on a cool night. On a hot day, it'll be 26 or whatever. I'm like, how is this possible, right? So I'm trying to think, study my head the entire day.
And this is on a Subaru?
It's Subaru. This is
pump gas in Barbados or pump in Barbados?
In Barbados. Right? I'm trying to think, how is this possible? How this man was able to get this here done? And obviously I could ask him this question, but I thought it was a bit more fun to do that. I paused on that thought experiment and then went into something that I could actually keep my brain thinking about, and that was with water injection. We spoke about this last year, and I moved from the water methanol because of something that I could not avoid. That thing I was avoiding was the fact that methanol absorbs moisture from the air. And that's something I can measure. So that is what will break the engine in Barbados, and that's something I can't compensate for unless I do some form of extraordinary thing to always measure the active concentration of
the moisture.
Cool. So done with the water methanol and decided to do E85 or ethanol, E85 specifically.
E85.
Ethanol plus water injection. It would get me the same way as if I did pump gas plus water meth.
Yeah.
Right? So with that, Right. So with that, I thought about water injection, and I didn't want to do the basic, boring method of AEM, where they just do straight up boost and feed in. And they're feeding in through the pump either. And this is not. I want to do as close as the injectors could do, which is an injector, pulse width modulation. And that's where I found Alchemist and their fast active solenoid, which does something very close to an injector, but it's still a nozzle. So I thought, all right, cool. I can have the fine level control I want. With my ECU, I want to do the control. Even if I didn't use my ECU, their control is really good. But today I came to the conclusion of doing through my ECU because their controller is limited. They feed in injector duty cycle as well as map. And the injector duty cycle kind of solved the problem I could not figure out with ADM, which is what is the quench ratio between fuel and water? What is the point where you inject too much water for the thing? And that is 20. That is for water. It is 10%, I think, or either 10 or 15%. Anywhere around there. If you start to do methanol, you can add in more methanol towards the thing before you quench and different things like that. So that was the ratio I thought I found. It's like, cool, that answered my question. This is the ceiling.
This is the sequence of things that you need.
Yeah, this is the ceiling that here. I can't add in more than this. But then I started breaking it down further down, and I went down to the state of what is the actual objective? The objective is to lower the intake temp.
Correct.
And mathematically you can calculate that. Whereby you know for the latent heat evaporation for water, which is what actually cools the charge. It's not the temperature of water, it's when it evaporates, that's what cools the charge.
Yeah, but there got a lot of other factors in there that you can still always be. You got ambient temperature in the engine, which dependent on how hard or how soft you are running the engine is changing. So you will have to monitor now engine ambient temperature.
So you're saying the only thing air temp is not the only, because my air temp is in some manifold.
Correct. So you can get a heat source situation going on there already. Right?
So I thought
it's not a true representation of what is going into the intake. Right? So although, like I say, you could do a lot of calculations, a lot of that stuff then like you want to achieve. You can have, let's say, the average water meth situation, what we call 50-50, which is 70-30, whatever you want to say. You can have that because that's kind of a proven base for it. And then based on how much you inject into the system will create some cooling or some form of power gain, be it because you're cooling the charge, be it that the ethanol is still a fuel, so there's some octane to it, right? Will create higher power levels. But I could guarantee you that whatever your calculation is for the top, at some point you are not going to get consistent power gains because of, like I said, where your intake temperature may be, what you are, how to explain this, what you are trying to, there is no, other than your methanol mix, there's no other real fixed thing. So you would have to have a 4D map maybe, just thinking random, have a 4D map which might be doing ambient temperature compare to intake temp, but then be based on pulse width.
So what you consider ambient temperature? What you want?
What you want, because the ambient temperature is going to always have, all right, for instance, when you first start an engine, it's cool. The inside of the compartment
is the ambient temperature.
So that is one of the control factors of what may be affecting your intake temperature.
Okay, so I give you a bit more information. When I've logged my car many times, even though it's in the intake temp sensor inside the manifold, on a night like this, when I do a pull, the lowest I've ever seen is 38 degrees Celsius. Even though it's drilled into the manifold. So the heat sort thing is actually not that much.
But and this is with acceleration. This is you accelerating and get.
The lowest I've ever seen is 38. On average, I'm seeing 40, 45 with it inside the manifold.
So, all right, I'm going to give you a scenario. Because we here now trying to work some things on the blue BMW.
Right.
All right? I realized when that car went to Antigua, we started runs, actually Barbados too, because when we did the last event here, it was doing the same thing. We are starting around 35 degrees.
Yeah.
When we finish the run, that car is down to 19.
Okay.
All right? And I was like,
that's what fuel is it running?
E85.
Okay, that's why.
Right? No, because where the air intake temperature sensor is way before it, because you go in air box.
Yeah.
And it's in the air box. So I was like, this car is taking in this amount of air that is cooling this jar. So now I actually want to put a sensor
inside,
closer to the intake because there's on ATB, so I could drill and put one anywhere and see what it is, because I realized that car, based on where the sensor was, I don't want to say it giving us a false reading, but
how can you get 19 degrees?
How you can get 19 degrees coming, and it's not, and the thing with the airbox is still open in the engine bay. So we have a hole and we have a vent.
You got to study effect of venturi. So what you may be experiencing is a pressure difference.
Right.
So when you get air passing through, enough, it's the same spray can effect.
Yes, correct. So that's what we're trying to figure out, if we are getting
that spray can effect
volume, or if we just getting a quick pass of air over the sensor.
Yeah.
That causing, because I was like, this car.
But that's still a part of the fact. It's still
correct.
You still are getting that temperature.
But I want to know if we getting that temperature. So like I said, you're going to be, I think, to answer your question, if we go into the math, because I know we were discussing this before.
Yeah.
It can work, but how to explain? I think it is a lot of process to do to gain. I am not, and this is just me thinking, I don't think the gain is going to be significant enough to change from what is, let's say, the most basic one, which is AM, where you set a start pressure and a full boost pressure or whatever. Because at some point, you have to account for air temperature charge that is going to be high, especially if you go into a turbocharged car, where your efficiency now comes from if the turbo is giving you enough, if the intercooler is efficient enough to do what it is supposed to do. So there's still going to be a point where there's a plateau to how cool, how much ethanol, how much methanol you can inject in it to get it, because I don't know, like, things that I look at now is like atomizers compared to injectors and those power gains, and that's a whole different ball game in terms of tuning.
So how I made the map. I ended up doing a 3D map where it is intake air temp on intake air temp on map.
On map.
Yeah.
Based on map pressure.
Yes. Right.
And that then does duty percentage. Yeah, I got you.
Right. And how I came to the conclusion of the percentage is I wanted the ending question or objective that I was trying to get to would be, I need to know how much energy I need to take out of. No, that's not the question. The question was, if I have air of X temperature and of Y amount, how much water do I need to extract it to be the ambient or the temperature that I want to get to?
Your target temperature.
My target temperature, which will be for 4 degrees or so, 47 degrees Celsius to compensate for the heat soak of the manifold. And that is calculatable because we know the latent heat of evaporation of water.
Yeah, correct.
Right? So you know if you inject this amount of water on this volume of air, you can bring that temperature to that.
X amount.
And then you translate that, you know the flow rates, so then you do the cycle for the flow rates, and there you have your table of water injection.
Right, okay.
And that, I completely disregard the injected duty cycle, because my ceiling for the injected duty cycle of the mixture of fuel to thing, I was not going to achieve. I was not going to get anywhere close to that ceiling.
You were not going to get close to that ceiling.
I was not. It was that ceiling for these everything was just like, nah, I didn't need to consider that anymore. Okay. So it was good for my calculation, but
not.
It's not. I need to consider. I don't need to consider it. And the amount of water flowing to take out 85 degrees Celsius of water to 40 degrees. My duty cycle is 50%.
50?
50. So that would have been about 185-ish to 200 cc's of water. Because of that, water is so efficient with just pure water.
Yeah.
And if once you put it in the right path of the intercooler,
and got the right atomization.
you're good.
Yeah.
So that then brought me to the next. Go ahead, say your point.
Go ahead.
So then brought me to the initial question of what I started off with is, how do I achieve that 29 to 27 pounds of boost? And that one I racked in my head until I figured out how. So the process of getting that would have been, let the turbo spool it as much as I want to spool. Put your duty cycle on your boost control to be 100%. However the turbo get to, Let it spool up for that 1 pump. Don't risk it more than 1 pump. That would then tell you what your maximum your turbo can do. Correct. That is in practice. But I want to know the math behind that. And then it hit me what the math was. The math was, your turbo has 2 limitations. And one of the limitations is not boost. The limitation is shaft speed and flow rate. So you intersect the two, you can then calculate what your boost pressure is per RPM. So at 3,000 RPM, you could reach that 29 PSI, and you taper off because
your turbo kind of spike and then comes down.
So then your initial limitation is not shaft speed. Your initial limitation is airflow
to create.
So you reach your 33 pounds of per feet or whatever, or 33 pounds is per whatever unit is. But your 33 pounds, you reach that fast, and eventually as your RPM goes, that you reach your shaft speed limit,
and then
you taper off because of your shaft speed limit.
But question now is, how do you get to that RPM? Because I believe for the turbo to spool fast, you have to have air movement. Right? The fastest air movement is not necessarily at the top of the power band. Right? But you have to figure out
how to get to that RPM.
Where that RPM is. Not necessarily how to get it, because it is efficiency of an engine. So every engine, there's going to be like, every engine don't make it peak power at 5,000, at 4,000, obviously for the characteristic.
So how you get there? Well, put it this way. My turbo breaks that vacuum point at 2,500 RPM.
At 25, that's when it starts to build boost.
Right. Sometimes it'll be $2,000, depending on the timing. 2 grand to 2500, I'm breaking that vacuum point.
Right.
I've never done it, but I theorize that if I were to let that turbo just rocket up, it should reach that max speed at 4 grand RPM. That 25 enough at 4,000.
Okay.
Right now, I don't know what the actual shaft speed limitation would be at the end of the RPM because I am right now battling boost creep with my actuator. And the highest boost I have gotten, which I'm lucky I have 1,000 injectors in, is 19 psi. 19 psi on my engine right now is occupied on pump gas. It creeped up to there. That duty cycle I had was 54, 50 something, 50 odd % on thousands. My car
to get to 19.
To compensate for 19 to keep everything in check.
What is offered on without the boost control? What's your base?
No, that's base.
Base is 19?
Yes. Right now I'm battling boost creep. As in, I have
so if you turn off the boost
control,
you get
that's
19.
What I get 19.
Oh, okay.
So that turbo working so good. In a sense, that at 90, creeping up to 19 at 6,000, 6,500 RPM.
Yes, I ain't sure I would technically agree with that because what happening is there now is that because of manifold design or whatever, which is what causing your boost creep, actuator position, whatever. You may be able, if you could clamp it better, you may be able to get better pressure earlier, right?
For sure.
So, but in saying that, you gotta look then that because you're going to clamp that actuator wastegate closed, you can keep more air speed in there, then your shaft speed at your creep 19 could easily be your speed at 16 now. Because you're getting, you understand? Because you're getting more air movement. So so it's not like how to.
No, I agree with what you're saying.
You understand what you're trying to say? That so not that the turbo is not capable of doing it, right? But with creep you could get away with, when you get creep you could get away with certain stuff, and you will realize that if you get to clamp it, you're gonna get a lot more, I don't want to say aggression, but you're gonna get a better result out of the turbo than you will get.
So what it was, the reason why I mentioned 19 was the fact that the turbo can creep up, fighting the wastegate and get up to 19 means the physical limitation is not 19.
Correct.
Because the turbo would not get to 19.
Correct.
If it was not possible.
Correct.
Right? So that was all part of the shaft speed calculations I was using. In fact, that it can get to 19 at 65, whatever. Tells me that the shaft speed can handle that high RPM. So
you want that custom thing.
They're trying out the RPMs. They're trying to get the higher RPMs. Anyways, so the idea was that you just shut it closed,
clamp it and just let go.
And let go and see where it goes boost wise, right? When you see that boost, when it can't go any higher, right? What that means then is that would be flow rate.
Correct.
The flow rate is stopping it from going higher.
Correct.
So you know that flow rate at that early RPM, you're getting potentially that 20 enough pounds of boost, and you then taper off to your 19 at any RPM, at your RPM range, and that would then be your shaft speed limitation. And that answers the question: is my tuner able to get that 20 enough?
Where he getting it? That's what you're trying to say.
Where now is me at that 4-ish, high up in there.
Where is it?
Tapering off.
I taper. But there's a lot, like I keep saying, there's a lot, because you could get a limitation on it might not necessarily, for a turbo, it might not necessarily be a limitation on shaft speed, because you could go to 6,400 RPM and have efficiency, and then after that, your engine is no longer efficient.
Right.
So it is now, you might not max out the turbo, be it flow rate or even air shaft speed, but your engine just cannot produce any more volume of air after 65. So, and you would find, like, in a map now, you could tell when that's happening, because you would realize that you are now taking out fuel. Your fuel curve is now falling. Right? So, I mean, you could get it. I would believe that there's possibilities too of getting to that at the very peak, because you can let the turbo depend. Like, let's say you put on a big turbo is gonna spool slow, and it's gonna it can get you to 20 something pounds, but it can get you right up at the top of your RPM, where the engine itself isn't really efficient anyway. So you get that, but you ain't getting the power. Correct. So also, I it's interesting to do 20 something pounds on pump gas in Barbados. So.
Right. So then the next consideration was, all right, cool, you get the boost pressure, but then you're fighting two other battles. One big battle is your way out of the compressor efficiency zone, and that's one thing. Okay, everybody say, the turbos lose efficiency after 22 pounds. I say, fine. But what does that mean? Questioning really, you telling me it's also the efficiency zone doesn't mean that the turbo now doesn't work. No, it still very much works. But then that means that it's producing a lot of heat. But if you have a way of compensating for the heat, either through water injection, like I said, or understanding what a high intake temp means, you can then compensate it in your tune. Right? So you then understand that you put in 100 degrees of air in your car. Yes, it has other benefits with it, but you put in 100 degrees. So then you tailor everything into it. You know the benefits of that turbo going that fast, and your turbo is giving you the best it can do. And that is your baseline in a sense. You then map your car, the rest of it, according to that theoretical baseline.
Theoretically.
And you get.
Question though is, when you put in your cooling efficiency, will the car make more power?
Yes.
You sure?
Positive. Because you're now increasing the amount of air in the engine.
No, you're cooling the air.
You're increasing density, and therefore
you're going back to the density that you were at your most efficient threshold.
When I ran the numbers,
I got outside the numbers. Study the power, because, like I said, you got this amount of air coming in, right?
What's the light rate? Cool.
You got this amount of air coming in, or coming in your intake.
Yes.
Over your feeding into your cylinders, whatever. That air volume in your cylinder at a point does not change.
Okay.
Because the efficiency of your turbo is only flowing 50 CFM, whatever you want to call it, in that air pressure.
So here's why it makes more power. You may be fitting this amount of volume, but if the flow rate is molecules per time. If you then take that turbo that turbo spun up this amount, you cool it down, you put it down to this size. You now have more combustion chamber size to put in the fuel that you want. And thus you also get the benefit of better timing.
No, I think what you're looking at is, what I'm trying to explain to you is that when your turbo, let's say your output from your exhaust will create a certain amount of turbo speed, right? Now, if that turbo speed goes out, what is the efficiency range of the turbo?
Okay.
Right? So now the turbo starts to blow hot air. It's
Yes.
still blowing the same volume of air, but it's hot.
Okay.
Right? And you need to cool back that charge
Right.
to where it was efficient. So all you're doing really is carrying it back to its efficiency range at that boost level. So let's say when the turbo starts to spool up, you make 25 pounds, and that's your efficiency of where before your turbo starts to heat up the temperature. Although you may get 26, or let me say you get 30. Yes, you have 30 more horsepower and volume of air
Okay.
in there that you try to cool. It is not necessarily that it is going to make more power. It is a
Okay, I got you.
assumption based on theory.
Yeah.
But in practice, what you find is that sometimes you can, and I said, you can have a turbo. Well, let me say a 70 millimeter turbo. We're gonna talk big turbos,
Right.
where you can do high boost pressures, and you would find that you are at 40 pounds intake temperatures. At that 40 pounds drop,
Right.
and you go to 42 pounds, and you get the exact same air temperature sometimes, or even sometimes you might go cooler, and the car does not make the power, because now it is the engine's lack of being able to extract the air that you're trying to force in it to make power.
Then
Yeah.
that's another factor that's limiting it, not necessarily the fact that you're not putting more air into it.
Right. So that's why I tell you that although you can have a ton of aids on top of things, there's still engine limitations to, again,
Right.
cylinder
Okay, I got you.
pressure. You understand?
Yeah.
So unless you want to run a small turbo, but you want to do, because for instance, you want something that is very responsive or whatever, and you say, well, I know this turbo only good for 19 pounds, but I want to get 23 because that's where my power goal is, that's whatever, and you do that. Yes, but if then at 23, the volume of air coming in to the engine cannot utilize it because of the characteristics of the engine.
Yeah.
It's still not gonna make the
Okay.
power.
Yeah, I agree with that one.
Yeah.
What I was more focusing on was maximizing what the turbo does. So I then started to I thought about it myself. We're not chasing boost pressure inherently. We're chasing flow rate. So
For power,
not
for-
necessarily for power. We don't want to get the power conversation. We're thinking about just fundamentals right now.
right. So,
So
you're trying to maximize
The flow rate
of the
per
turbo.
RPM per turbo. Turbo,
Okay.
right? It results in various boost pressures, but at the end of the day, you want to get that 33 whatever pound feet, whatever the unit is right now. Trying to flow 33 units per time. Sometimes that 33 units ends up being higher pressure because of heat,
Yeah, correct.
and thus the pressure increases because
Yeah.
heat
Well,
volume.
yeah.
Thus the pressure increases. Great game shape. Next, man. Anyways, the pressure increases, and then the water allows you to put it back to, you have the
filter.
unit of, you have molecules of air there, and you put it back to a tolerable size.
Correct. To go back to an efficient temperature charge, basically.
Yeah, for the what the engine can do. Because
Yeah.
when you say efficient there, you may start to confuse back to the efficiency zone of the turbo. That's not what it's saying. Give me all the turbo you can give before you start to break up things. And afterwards, I would deal with whatever side effects you have. So side effects mainly would be anti-air temp. And you manage the air temp either from allowing the engine to change its behavior to react to the fact there's no slightly hotter air, or cool it down
to bring the
to do things. And thus you then get that stable platform to then do all your tuning modifications with. You then study things like what happens when you have a hotter chamber, into combustion chamber.
Yeah.
You are studying.
But there's things like I said, like, and if you look now, like a lot of guys doing, like I was telling you, now I'm looking at a lot of the atomizers instead of injectors
Right.
and all that, because obviously, like you said, necessarily cooler charges obviously make the power, but there can be times where you need to target, I don't want to say a hotter temperature, but there are advantages sometimes to, how to explain this? You can get gains by leaning an engine in a certain place where you might not think to lean it, but because of the characteristics of the engine, it makes the power.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah.
So, but you gotta, how should I explain it? It is a lot of trial and error, because like I said, when you say, although you did your calculations, I would tell you 90% of the time, what you think it's going to be might not be.
Yeah.
Yeah, you understand?
Yeah.
Because engines, like, and this is why when we first started talking, I tell you about the ambient temperature, because that's one thing I realized early in tuning, that has a significant impact on stuff that happens in the engine. And if you look at Shane T, for example, he got a video there where they did a whole bunch of testing on stuff like that, on those pro mod cars and stuff, and them cars that doing 5-second and 3-second passes.
Right.
And the difference of, obviously, those are totally enclosed, so you cannot, there's no way to release ambient temperature, but the difference of when you testing the ambient temperature of what it does, so it's a lot of trial and error.
Yeah. Okay.
a lot.
So that was why I had rocked my head about most of the
Yeah,
way
you know,
today.
you had told me about it, but you are implementing it now, or
Nah,
you haven't?
I didn't get that far. Like,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, you gotta try it and see.
Yeah,
but it's
definitely.
gonna be, like I said, based on, again, my experience with water meth, snow performance,
Yeah.
doing all of them, there are some limitations, and I have gone different mix ratios,
Yeah.
be it for whatever, to the point where, like I remember I told you, I don't even tune it for power. I just tune it, especially on like track car,
Yeah.
for just doing what you want to do, just control that irritate temp consistently.
And if you're doing that, you don't bother putting methanol in it. Just use your straight water.
Yeah, a lot, guys. The problem, honestly, the only, I won't say side effect, is safeties. Like, if you got a methanol, the methanol, even when it touches something of temperature, it's gonna evaporate faster than if you're on water. Sir.
How you doing, mate?
Are you good?
You're good.
Are you good?
I'm Big Honda. Ready?
Yeah. So,
Everybody fast, just you
so you
continue.
can pass it. You can pass it.
Cool.
Yeah. But put it and let me see where it goes.
Yeah.
But like I said, the water meth, I have found the limitations. I just use it merely on a track car.
Right.
We have tried it with a car with E85.
Yeah.
And that was just, again, we were trying to cool,
Yeah.
like we were just trying to cool charge. Just trying to cool charge. But I have never tried just water.
Okay.
I've never tried
Yeah.
just
It's
water.
worth a shot.
Yeah.
You'll be shocked at how much more it cools. Like,
Than with the methanol.
yeah. Because even though methanol is cool to the touch,
Mm-hmm.
the amount of energy methanol absorbs when it evaporates is far less than what water absorbs. So because it boils at a lower temperature is why it feels cool to the
Without
touch.
touch, yeah.
But
yeah,
if water happened to boil at the same temperature as methanol, it would feel so much cooler. right?
Yeah, I never tried.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
never
well,
did.
And that's the beauty of water, why it cools so well is when it evaporates. It's not the. So I thought about, oh, maybe if I put ice bucket in the back. No, that's
No,
not the
yeah,
temperature change. To tell you how crazy it is actually, the amount of energy it absorbs. If you were to go from 30 degrees and cool your water down to 0, right? That temperature change is minuscule compared to if you were to go from the 30 degrees coming up, you can get, let's say that's give you a third the way there. The rest of the 2/3 of that energy absorption is the evaporation.
The evaporation.
Yeah. The change in temperature is nowhere. It's, the thing is a unit, and it's instead of it being tens, is hundreds
of
energy
yeah.
absorption, right? It's water is one of those beautiful things that we just take for granted.
Granted,
sometimes.
yeah. I'd say that.
But thanks again.
Yeah, no problem. Good.